सर्व वेदांत सिद्धांत गोचरम तम गोचरम गोविंदम परमानंदम सद्गुरुं प्रणतोस्म्यहम्. So in the last class we were discussing about Vijnanamaya Kosha, and while this Vijnanamaya Kosha, with the close proximity with one's own self, how it really creates this superimposition in us. Now this few verses talks about one's own self called Atma. So let us read. Yoyam Vijnanamaya Praneshu Hrude Spuratyayam Jyotihi Kutastasannatma Karta Bhokta Bhavatyupadhistah. Says beautifully that this Ayam Jyoti Swarupaha, this self-effulgent Kutastasam, so being as living principle in every living beings. And who is that? This Atma. Sometimes the self appears to be Karta and Bhokta. So appears to be a doer and appears to be an enjoyer. So when it becomes why, how it becomes, it says Upadhistaha. So being enjoying or being with a upadhi state of called limiting agent. And what is that? He says, look, Ayam Vijnanamaya Praneshu Hudispurati Ayam. So how it happens? He says, because now here, even though this Atma, that which is Jyoti Swarupaha, self-effulgent, Kutavat Tishthatiti, never moves, always steady, stable. So you cannot shake, not disturbed at all, but appears to be Karta because of what? Because of association with the prana, heart, and all other upadhis, limiting agents. The reason is why? Because whenever this Atma, or better, let us put it other way around, this Vijnanamaya Kosha getting associated with the reflection of the self, now considers as that self, now presents one's own self as a doer or an experiencer. But in reality, neither the self is a doer or experiencer. So it is only because of the upadhi, and we have all these upadhis, limiting agents. In fact, starting with Vijnanamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Annamaya Kosha, and many other things. So that's why it appears to be a Karta and Bhokta. So in reality, I am neither a Karta nor I am a Bhokta. Let us read the next. Swayam parichedamupatya buddhehe Tadatmya doshena param mrushatmanah Sarvatmaka sannapi vikshyate soyam swatah pruthaktvena mrudo ghataniva. Look, again it goes. What happens is swayam parichedam upetya buddhehi, and because of what? Tadatmya doshena. So this is called tadatmya dosha. Tadatmya dosha means it is one type of dosha. So guna means quality, dosha means opposite. So you inherit certain properties from the person. Good person, good; bad person, bad. Or from good person, you also take bad aspect also. So that is called dosham. So here it says dosham. So when we say dosham, what is that? Tadatmya dosham. Dosham. Because of this identification with what? Buddhehe. Now, when it gets identified with the buddhi, with the intellect. So intellect means what? Again, Vijnanamaya kosha. So when it gets identified with this Vijnanamaya kosha, then of course by itself. And what is that? This Vijnanamaya kosha, it by itself is limited. And because of this association of or association with Vijnanamaya kosha, now this Atma, which is Sarvatmaka, being Sarvatmaka, even though this self is everything. But what happens? Because of Mrusha Atmana, because of wrong identification, false identity. Now, Bhikshyate Shoyam considers itself what? Swataha. Swataha means from itself. What is it? How it considers itself from itself? Pruthakttvena, as different. How it is possible? He gives the example of Mrudaha very nicely. How he says Mrudaha ghataniva. As though, if you look at or like Ghatan means pots. So pots, they consider because of their utility, because they are being carried by great people or small people or whatever. Now the pot starts considering that I am different from clay. In fact, the pot that is made up of clay, okay, if the pot is made up of silver, of course it's different, okay. So we are talking pot only made up of clay, okay. So the pot, when it's made up of clay, or let us say clay pot, because of the association with the different people or because of usage, if the pot starts thinking that I am different from the clay, what does it mean? That long the pot will think that I am different from clay as long as it doesn't break. You understand? Even if after breaking also you will not know, because it will take time to melt. You understand? Still you are different from the clay. Once after 10 years or 5 years or whatever, depends upon, then when it merges the clay, then of course this pot doesn't have any separate identity. But sometimes we have to break the pot to understand that, hey, you are clay, okay. But in reality it is not required, okay. The pot should be smart enough, intelligent enough to understand that, hey, I don't have to be broken in order to understand that I am clay. I am clay. So also here he says, look how that happens here also, because of false identity with my intellect, mainly Vijnanamaya kosha. And of course, Vijnanamaya kosha uses all other kosas. Manomaya kosha, it uses Pranamaya kosha, it uses this Annamaya kosha too. Now, because of all this identification with all these koshas, especially here it talks about the intellect, the Vijnanamaya kosha, then what happens? There is a tadatmya bhava. There is special connection, special identity. There is oneness. So if I am associated with the mind, if mind is able to decide, tak, 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 wow, 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 I say, wow, wow, wow. If mind is not able to decide, you understand? Wow, 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 that's all. This is what life is. So that's why it's being taught here very nicely. So that means what? It is because of itself only, because it joins, and because of this tadatmya, because of this association only, the person consider one's own self different from the self, that which is everything. So I consider I am different. I consider I am miserable because of the association. That's why whole life is nothing. Understanding how I am associating naturally, spontaneously with my koshas. And once there is identification, there is association and identification, whether I like it or not, I am carried away. That is what happens. So whole teaching is nothing. You continue whatever you are doing, being aware of it, continue whatever you are doing. To make sure that, hey, look, you are not making situation worse. Let us read the next. Upadhi sambandhavasat paratma hyupadhi dharman anubhati tadgunaha ayo vikaran avikari vannivat sadeikarupopi parasvabhavat. Upadhi sambandhavasat. It is because of nothing, because of the superimposition. And of course, what? Relationship. There is a relationship. So because of the relationship, and that is due to the superimposition. Now the Paratma, so he uses what? Always Paratma, the supreme self. The self that is everything. Indeed, Upadhi Dharman Anubhati iti. Even though this Paratma, this me is the absolute truth, the absolute self, this supreme self. Now, because of this superimposed relationship with the superimposed object or superimposition, now I appear based on the Upadhi. And not only that, Tadguna also. There, the Upadhi gunas, the characteristics of the Upadhis, the qualities of the Upadhi also becomes my quality. How is it possible? I don't think so. Yes, it is possible. He gives the example so that it becomes very clear. Because you can say, no, because I am avikari. The one who never goes through the changes. But I consider sometimes I am vikari. How is it possible? I go through the change. Hey, all these things are possible. Why? Because there is one example. The example is being given that how? Look, Bandhivat Sada Ekarupa Apihi Para Suhabat Ayo Vikaran. So he gives the example of like a Bandhi. So Bandhi means fire. Fire does not have any specific form. So when it does not have any specific form, in fact, it is always a fire, we say ekarupaha, is unchanging, the same. But it keeps changing. How? Even though in short that fire does not change, but it keeps changing. Ayo vikaran. That means when the fire gets connected with the ayas means the iron. Now the shape and size of the iron becomes the shape and size of the fire. Not only that, how that iron ball slows down or whatever happens, the movement of that iron ball also the movement of fire. And moreover, as iron ball is kept for some time outside, slowly the heat of the fire also goes down. Again you put it in some other fire, again the fire becomes stronger. So that means what? The fire doesn't appear to be fire, means the fire only completely takes up the qualities of the iron. Both way, iron also takes up the fire, but we are taking up this point, okay? How this iron and fire goes together and how they appear, how they change. So also me the self, who is changeless, me the self, who is everywhere, everything, because of the association with the limited agent called this upadhis, starting with my vijnanamaya kosa, the intellect and mind and whatnot. Now I appear to be limited. And moreover, limited, me being appearing as a limited is not a question, is not a big thing at all. But the sad part is what? The sad part is that whatever is my mind problem, that becomes my problem. You understand? Mind is limited. I don't have any problem. Let me have a limited mind. What's wrong in it? But whatever problem my mind has that moment, that becomes my problem. That is the problem here is being described. However, let us read the next. Oh, so when this goes like this, now the question is being taught, okay? Now disciple could not keep quiet, now starts asking question. So I would like to know what? Brahmenapyanyatha vastu jiva bhavah paratmana tadupadheranaditvat anader nasha ishyate. So the disciple asked the question. So what is the question? Question is, Brahmana api anyatha vastu jiva bhava paratmanah. So Brahmana, okay, I understand. If you say that the Supreme Self, the paratmanah, what happens paratmana? Paratmana is something because of anaditva. So because of its beginningless. Okay, but when it is connected to the delusion, and of course this delusion is what? Very nicely, that delusion is, again you can say, which is not being mentioned here, because of the superimposition adhyasa. Now this is being called as what? Jiva bhava. This paratmana becomes jiva, now picks up or consider itself as the individual. The sense of limitation is being expressed through the individuality. Now this upadhi also anaditvat, it is since beginning. That also you have talked many occasions. Now the question is, no anadhe nasaisyatet. Will you please accept, will you really make it clear later on that as it is beginningless, so also this destruction of this beginningless cannot happen. That means what? The end is not there for this. That means it has to be ananta, though it is a beginningless. So let it be ananta. Ananta means that which has no end. Because anyway, upadhi is there always. So jiva, how can it be? So jiva can continue all the time. So when this is the question is being asked, and of course again he again asks, atosya jiva bhavopi nitya bhavati samsrute. na nivartetam tanmokshah katham me Sri Guru vadam. So that means what? If jiva bhavaha is nitya forever, it has to continue. That means what? Now, Sanskriti, and because of that reason, Sanskriti non-nivartate. That means this birth and death, the cycle, that is, we cannot be free from, it will not come to an end. Tat moksha kathammi. So then, where is moksha? Where is liberation? Because if I have to keep taking birth and again death, all these things will continue because there is no end to it. Now this jiva bhava is nitya forever. And then that means what? I don't think there is any more freedom. So I'll be keep continuing. Now will you please, O Guru, Sri Guru Ho. So Sri Guru Ho, sometimes we have many other aspects. We use the word Sri. We'll see in detail sometimes. Because generally, when we use the word Sri concept, we do take, generally people take related to this Sri Vidya aspect. And sometimes they try to interpret very nicely that almost every Shankara Mats now, especially in South India, whether it is Sringeri or even Kanchi also, they do worship Mother. And that Sri Vidya tradition is there very much. And because of that reason, they add the word Sri, but here Sri means the prosperity, the one who is embodiment of the prosperity. So when we look at this aspect, O Guru, the one who is embodiment of the prosperity. Now please answer me. Now answer comes. Sri Guru Ruvacha Samyak Prishtatvaya Vidwan Savadhanena Tatshunu Pramaniki na bhavati Bhrantya mohita kalpana. Now, of course, the teacher answers. So, how he answers? Samyak prishtattvaya. This is how the right way of answering. When a student asks the question, if the teacher understands there is seriousness and genuine question, that time the teacher answers is whatever you have asked, the great question. Brightly you have asked. And of course, if the teacher figures it out, there is some arrogance, there is to prove. Of course, teacher knows how to answer, okay? Either a gloss over or doesn't bother as though you don't listen to it, you understand? Or ask the question like Ramana Maharshi used to do very nicely, okay? His unique style is, if anybody asks any question, he'll keep quiet. Suppose again, ask, who is asking this question? So you are out, okay? Very simple. Ask the one who is asking the question. The moment you start asking the question, who is asking in you, will you be able to ask any question? So that's another way of handling, okay? But here is being teaching method. So he says, look, samyak prishtham tuya, O vidwan, O learned one. That means you are catching me, okay? You are following the teaching properly, carefully. It shows that. O learned one. So what it means? And of course, we saw in the characteristics of a shishya to become a shishya has to be a learned, has to be a vidwan. A dumb fellow cannot become a disciple. And should have uhapuha vichakshana buddhi. The person should have that sort of sharp intellect to understand. Because to become a devotee, you don't need anything. Because devotee is a state of mind. It is a matter of attitude. By God's grace or somewhere or other, if you develop this attitude, that's enough. Whereas to become a disciple, remember, you need to have that sort of sharpness, because a devotee can be permanently devotee, but a disciple need not be permanently disciple. Today, who is a disciple, tomorrow has to be a teacher. Remember this point. And I expect all of you to become disciple for some time so that you can be a teacher, okay? That is what I expect, okay? All the time, how long can you listen to me, okay? This is not good. Anyway, Swamiji, don't worry. Because of this corona and all these things, everyday class, we will make it every week one class, okay? So that you are happy, we are happy. Correct? Huh? So every day evening we have to see you. This is not good, okay? How long can we see? And some of you are also morning we have to see, and evening we have to see. Swamiji, this is too much, yeah. We are tired, and that we have to sit. At least you should allow us to sit on the chair and whatnot. You always force us to sit on the ground. This is not right, okay? You understand our age. You understand our culture. You must understand everything, okay? Swami, you are outdated, old-fashioned, okay? Please update yourself. Don't worry. So he says, that's why all learned one. Sabodhanena tatsrunu. So may you listen to attentively. Why? Because, look, mohita kalpana bhrantya pramaniki na bhavati. First is mohita kalpana. So mohita kalpana means the imagination which is born out of moha, out of attachment. And again, it is because of what? Bhrantya, because of the delusion. That cannot be, na bhavati, that cannot be considered as what? Pramaniki, as a fact, as a truth. You cannot take that this is called pramana, this is the truth. Please. Because whatever is your imagination, that's why we say very carefully, the moha is not good. Because wherever there is attachment, you try to bind that person with you. That is called attachment. Whereas in love, you associate with others. Can you see the difference? Through the love, you associate with others. Whereas through moham, you bind that person or that object with you. The best example is parents have moham with reference to their children. That is not love at all. There is no love at all. I am sorry to say. Only moham. There's a mogam in the Tamil, okay, really. So what do? You make sure the child must be responding to you. Like, you know, child must be extension of you. Whatever child may do, wherever child may do, but must respond to me. That is the satisfaction every parents expect, nothing else. And as long as that happens, parents can do anything and everything for the child. When that doesn't happen, those parents gets upset. In fact, they don't care, they don't bother about their children. Can you see this point? However, coming to the point here, so moha is something one has to be very careful, because through the moham, you make sure you are trying to bind other person with you. You don't really associate with the other person. Whereas through love, you associate yourself with other person. However, so if you look at anything that is out of bhranti, so out of delusion, and because of that reason, lot of imagination, and Again, this imagination comes what? Because of there is moha, there is attachment. You can see for yourself. Whenever there is imagination, how do you imagine? Always imagination is being sustained by moha attachment. Imagine if you don't have attachment with reference to a person or object, can you continue your imagination? Try. It will not work. Maybe 1 day, 2 days, after that mind will stop, because where to go? Because if there is no base, if there is no foundation, if there is nothing to hold on to, mind cannot imagine, mind cannot project. So the imagination is always supported by what? Moha, the attachment. Can you see this point? So that is really to be seen, that is to be really noticed very carefully. And he says, look, this cannot be accepted as what? Remember, pramaniki, as a fact, as a truth. How? He says, look, Bhranti Vinato Sangasya Niskriyasya Nirakrute Naghatetartha Sambandha Navaso Nilatadivat. He says, look, Bhranti Bina, without delusion. 2, indeed, Asangasya, the one who is unattached. And who is that? Niskriyasya, for the one who is also actionless. Nirakrutehi, formless. Na ghateta iti, is not possible. Artha sambandha, connection with this objective word. How? He gives the example. Look. Navasaha nilatadivat. Navasa means if you look at the sky. What is the sky? How does the sky look? If I ask you, explain me sky, or I draw the picture of the sky, best example, okay? Draw the picture of the sky. What will do? From child to elderly people, everybody will draw the sky as what? Blue. Where from that blueness comes? The blueness, the vastness, different things related to sky. Is it really connected to the sky? Has it got any connection? Blueness has nothing to do with the sky. This is what science now explains. That's why even if also the water becomes blue. So wherever there is vastness, because the light does not reach, you know all the science, how it explains the blueness comes. But we look at the sky as blue, even though blueness has nothing to do with the sky. Same thing also. Because of the delusion, the self, that which is not attached to anything, unattached, appears to be attached. The self, that which is actionless, appears to be full of actions. That which is formless appears to be form. Because of what? Because of the tadatmya bhava. Because of this association. And remember, all these things happens what? Because of the delusion. The best example is what? The sky and blueness. Let us read next. Swasya dastru nigunasya kriyasya pratyak bodhananda rupasya buddhe Bhrantya prapto jiva bhavo na satyah Mohapaye nasti vastu swabhavat. Very nicely says that swasya drashtuh nirgunasya akriyasya pratyek bodhananda rupasya. That means when we look at this jiva, this individual, in short, what is this jiva? It is a drashtuh, it witness. At the same time, nirgunasya, the one which is free from all qualities. And akriyasya, of this actionless. But what happens? Of course, bodhananda rupasya, of the nature of ananda and bodha, knowledge and happiness. But now it gains what? Jiva bhava. Once it is called a jiva. Now because of this jiva bhava, very nicely, moha paye na asti avastu swabhavat iti. So that means what? Because even though it is absolute, even if, please understand, because of this moha, delusion, and of course this is caused by only one soul, this Vijnanamaya kosa and all other kosas. Now this jiva is unreal, and because of that reason, now all sort of confusion happens. That she says what? Avastu swabhavat. Because it is unreal by nature. Now there is no moha apaya, because when the delusion, moha apaya means when the delusion is being released or is dispelled, is destroyed, then discovers what? There is nothing called limitation at all. So that means all the limitations that is in me, it is because of my delusion. In fact, all this delusion again is related to my tadatmya bhava. And once the delusion is being taken care, is being addressed, is being destroyed or resolved, then I remain as I was. That means what? All these things that I consider myself as unreal, I consider myself as differently. It is nothing but because of my delusion. So that means what? This, that I am unreal, that I am limited, that I am subject to go through the pain, etc., is because of this confusion. This is because of my delusion. And once that delusion is being released or resolved, I remain as I am. That's why we always say that knowledge does not create anything. Knowledge job is just to reveal as you are. In fact, today morning we were discussing this point, like no, or kadivat. So nicely, how the sunlight does not create anything. Sunlight only reveals what is there in the room. In the night, you don't see what other things are there. So because you don't see, you think that is not there. Because of the darkness, when you don't see anything in the room, what do you think? There is nothing. But when light comes in, now you are able to see many things. Then what did you say? Oh, I got it because of the light. Hey, remember, you got it not because of the light. Light only revealed. Light did not create anything. Did light create any object? Has light got power to create anything? The job of the light is to dispel the darkness so that you can see what is there already. So also here, because of the ignorance, because of the delusion, let us say, now there is a lot of confusion in me. I have taken myself differently than what exactly I am. Now when that this delusion is being dispelled, is being removed, is being resolved, then what happens? The confusion that I was having about me, that I was considering me as a different person, again I withdraw from that. I am as I am. Can you see this point? So the whole teaching is not to create a change in you. In fact, the whole teaching is to see you as you are, because already you have taken yourself as a changed person. Again, the teaching will not change you. Teaching will make to sure that how the change has happened in you, whether that change is right or wrong, whether the change is really a delusion or truth. So once you understand the change itself is a delusion, you remain as you are, absolutely no problem at all. And this is what all about the teaching. More of it we'll see tomorrow, because I have not seen the horse, to be very honest. Please close your eyes. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shant Shant Shanti.